So in this video I'll be showing you how to make my Mansfield posy. This posy is 3 of my standard novella roses bound together with natural twine. There's 2 leaves on this posy, but you can add more if you prefer, and I decorate it with a little bit of ribbon and a little gift tag and a tiny little mini peg. Those are optional. It's entirely up to you, but the ribbon does just finish it off nicely. So to start with, you'll need an old book. Any old book will do for your practice roses. You'll also need some wallpaper paste, and the link for mixing up the wallpaper paste to the right consistency is in the video description. In addition, you'll need some regular PVA craft glue and some high-tack glue. You'll also need some regular kitchen foil and some thread. You'll also need some florist tape and some natural coloured twine, some ribbon for decoration, and a little bit of coloured paper to cut out the leaves. It doesn't have to be green. You'll need some scissors, and you'll also need the template for the petal and the leaf. Again, the link for this is in the video description, and if you print it out at 100% on A4 paper, it will be exactly the right size. And if you want, you can add a little gift tag and a mini peg, but these are optional. So first of all, take your tin foil, and we want to tear it at about 20 centimetres. And we want to tear 3 strips of tin foil. It doesn't have to be too precise, and it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. So take your tin foil and fold it in half, and fold it in half, and fold it in half again. And then at one end, kind of just twist and scrunch. And we want to compact it so that we're forming a nice sturdy stem. And what I usually do is I just twist it with my fingers. And we want to do this for all 3 of our strips of tin foil. As it compacts together, it creates quite a sturdy stem. It's flexible, but it holds its shape. So what we need to do now is take 4 pages from our book. Now I try to pick pages that don't have pictures on. Any pages with pictures I put to one side, because I quite often sell those on for people to use in scrapbooking. So I usually tear all 4 pages together. So what we want to do for this arrangement is tear 3 lots of 4 pages from our chosen book. If you hold the book firmly at the top, it's quite simple usually to pull all 4 pages out together. So take our first set of book pages and make sure that they're nicely aligned together, and then fold them in half, and then take your petal template and align it with the edge of the writing, and simply cut around your template. And you can see I'm leaving a few millimeters gap around my petal shape and at the bottom of the petal shape as well. So for each rose we'll need 21 petals. This book is quite a large book, so I can actually get 4 cuts of petals out of each book page. But most books I can only usually get 3. So we just need to simply keep cutting around our petals, and if you are familiar with my flower making processes, this is my standard novella rose, so for this posy you can jump straight to the binding part, and that will show you how to bind the roses all together. So once all your petals are cut, we need to lay them out in front of us, and I like to lay them out in 3 rows of 6 petals, and then I place 2 additional petals to the right hand side, and all my spares go over to the left. Now if any don't have a good amount of writing on them, I will switch them out and put them on the spares pile. So the first petal we take from our spares pile, and what we want to do is we want to curl it inwards, and we want to roll it so that we make a little cone shape. Then we take a good dollop of wallpaper paste and place it inside the cone shape, and insert the foil stem, squeeze it at the bottom of the petal, and simply use your thread to bind the petal in place. I usually wrap it round several times, and then bring the thread down the petal so that it reaches the top of the foil. For the next stage, we want to put a dab of wallpaper paste on the 20 petals that are laid out in front of us. Pick up your stem with the first petal, and then take the first petal from the first row and place it so that the bottom of the petals align on the stem, and then bind it in place. The next petal we want to place directly opposite the petal that we've just placed, and again twist the thread around to hold it in place. The next petal, we want to align it so that the middle of the new petal aligns with the very edge of the previous petal. And then twist the thread around and continue to add all of the rest of the petals in the same manner. That is, we want to align the middle of every new petal with the very edge of the previous petal. I'll be publishing a new tutorial every single Sunday for the foreseeable future, so if you don't want to miss out on learning how to make all kinds of flower arrangements from book pages and paper and other literary gift ideas, then do hit subscribe so that you don't miss out. As you come to the very last petal, add it in the usual way, and we want to put a few extra twists of the thread to really secure it in place. Make sure your thread is nice and tight, and then bring the thread all the way down to the foil stem. Snip it off and hold it in place with your finger, and then brush the thread with the wallpaper paste, going in the direction of how you've wound the thread. And then you want to tease the petals open slightly so that the rose opens up. So we do need to make 3 of these roses. I won't show you the whole process for all 3 of them. You can use the timestamps or chapters in the video description if you need to jump back and check how they're made. So once I've made the 3 roses, I would normally leave them overnight to dry, and once they're dry they really do hold their shape. You can squeeze them in and they just bounce back. So we'll prepare our leaves now, and all we need to do is take our green paper and cut out 2 leaf shapes. And then with the point facing towards me, I'll put 3 or 4 little cuts down the side just to make some little notches in the leaf. So now what we need to do is we need to trim the stems of our roses and bind them with the florist tape. So I would normally trim the stems at about 23 centimetres so that they all align at the same length. And then simply take your florist tape, tuck it in underneath the head of the rose and twist it round to cover all of the foil. Keep the florist tape nice and tight, and when you get to the very bottom, make sure that all the foil is covered, and then fold the florist tape over and twist it back on itself. And then continue winding up the stem for about 6 or 7 centimetres. Trim the florist tape. And I usually secure it in place with a little bit of PVA glue. That's quite a lot. And then, yeah, do the same for the other 2 roses. So now we want to arrange our roses so that the centre of the petals are all the same height, and once they're the same height I'll just secure them in place with a tiny bit of florist tape. Even once the florist tape is on, you can still adjust them very slightly. Then take your twine and about maybe 4 centimetres from the bottom of the stems, wind the twine around on itself so that the loose end of the twine is caught underneath each of the twists. I like to pop a little bit of glue just to secure the bottom end of the twine, and that glue just gets put on the stems. So as you wind the twine around the stems, try to make sure there's not too many gaps. And if there is, you can just push them down with your fingernails. And we want to continue winding until we reach the part of the roses where they start to branch out. So cut off a length of the twine and hold it in place with your left hand and bring the twine around and loop it under itself and pull it through so it forms a little knot, and that will hold the twine nicely in place. And I'll pop another little bit of glue just at the top of the twine before snipping the twine off at about 1 centimetre. And then we'll take a length of ribbon. Now you can use any length of ribbon that you like. I would tend to cut about 30 centimetres for this first piece. And all I do with this is I simply tie it to the top of the twine. Try not to get glue on the ribbon like I just did, but this is just an example piece, so I'm not going to worry too much. A couple of little knots just to really hold that in place. And then the next length of ribbon I'll make slightly longer, so this one's been cut at about 80 centimetres and this one's going to be tied in a bow. So I'll put one loose knot in, tighten it up just above the other ribbon and then just tie it in a bow. You might want to wait until the glue's dried before you put the ribbon on. And then I'll trim up the ends of the ribbon to make sure they're all the same length. So to attach the leaves, all we need to do is put some high tack glue on the lower portion of the leaf, and then just attach it to the rose petals. Now you can put them both on one rose, you can put a leaf on each rose. For this Mansfield Posy, I usually only have 2 leaves, and I'll put them either on one rose or one on 2 of the roses. If you try and catch 2 petals, then the weight of the leaf won't pull the petal down. And then simply attach the little gift tag, if you're using it, to the ribbon. And that is my Mansfield Posy. I hope you've liked this tutorial. Please give me a thumbs up if you have, and let me know how you get on making this posy, and if you've got any questions, pop them in the comments below.